We're edging closer to the 2026 SRC election here at the University of Pretoria, and next to me are a whole set of candidates all vying for your vote for the portfolio of transformation and student success. Hello, I'm Tsurufatsa Magola, and I am your host, and welcome to the SRC election debate for the portfolio of transformation and student success, powered by the Elections Management and Consulting Agency of Africa, as well as the Department of Student Affairs here at the University of Pretoria. A reminder to check out all the other debates that have already taken place that are already on the YouTube page of the Department of Student Affairs, and keep your eyes peeled over the next couple of days where all the candidates for each portfolio are set to present their manifestos all across the week at the University of Pretoria's Law Building. Allow me to introduce our candidates that are running for this portfolio. Closest to me we have Tidiso, next to Tidiso we have Ginelwe, next to Ginelwe we have Ayanda, next to Ayanda we have Lisedi, and next to Lisedi we have Lufuno. Next to Lufuno, we have Kanyisile, and next to Kanyisile, we have Kamogelo. Thank you all for joining us for this portfolio debate. A few ground rules before we begin. Please ensure that you're respectful throughout the debate, as no sort of discrimination of any kind will be tolerated. A question will be asked to each and every one of you, of which you will have the opportunity to respond. And if any of you have any sort of response to what a candidate has said, kindly raise your hand, of which you'll be acknowledged, and the mic will be passed to you. For time reasons, let's try to keep our responses as brief as possible, and let's try our best not to interrupt each other, as we'll all have the chance to speak. Sounds pretty self-explanatory, right? Cool. So let's get started. I see Ayanda has the mic. We know that inequality and curriculum transformation, as well as systematic barriers, are some of the issues that are already plaguing students here at the University of Pretoria, and they continue to shape their experiences within higher education. As the officer that's in charge of transformation, what measurable initiatives are you planning to introduce to advance the SRC's mandate to promote substantive transformation as well as academic inclusion at the University of Pretoria?
Thank you so much for the question. And for me, myself, I love this question. You know, it speaks to me as a South African. And I think the first thing we need to look at is decolonizing the academic space, the institution. And the first thing we need to look at is the idea of language. You know, many modules are still being conducted in either English or Afrikaans. Students need to be given a choice to conduct or go through these modules using their own official language. South Africa has, I think, about 12 official languages, including sign language. There should be options that when I come to university, I should say, oh, I would like to go through this module, or I would like to learn this module in Xitsonga because I am Tsonga. Or a person can say, oh, I would like to go and do this module in Afrikaans because I'm Afrikaner, or whatever it is. We need to have those options open for students. That is the first thing for me.
I'd like you to shift the mic to Lisedi. Lisedi, I'm seeing quite a bit of nods coming from your end. What is your response specifically to this question and some of the solutions that have been raised by your fellow candidate, Ayanda?
Okay, thank you for the question. I would like to side with Ayanda on this specific a point that she's mentioned. I would like to emphasize it more because as education students, with the module OPV, it is still preferred in English and Afrikaans. We do not find an African language as an option in that particular module. And looking at the University of Pretoria, majority of the students here are African. We can all agree to that. So please, the thing that we are all going to fight for here, and I can agree that we are on the same page, is number one, culture. We must be included as Africans. And number two, is the increasing number of gender-based violence cases, especially at the University of Pretoria. This year on its own, I think we had over 3 to 4 gender-based violence cases that have been out and about in social media. I think it is time that the University of Pretoria put counseling units there available and accessible, and also security. They must also uphold their security services so that students can report rape cases easily instead of having to go to the police station first, because sometimes students are not comfortable to going to the police and reporting such cases. Number three that I want to also talk about with inclusion and systematic barriers is that I find it difficult for the University of Pretoria, being the only university, that if a student owes more than 100,000, they are not allowed to register every single year. Universities such as VETS, they do allow their students, if they are owing more than 150,000, to register. They give them an opportunity, because in my case, in my first year, this is my third year, in my first year I didn't have funding at all. So that left me with a historical debt. In second year, I couldn't register because of that historical debt. But looking at the amount of money I was owing, it was not that a lot. So I think I will advocate that the university at least put a cap to say, if maybe you're owing more than 200,000, that's when you can't register. But let it be a cap that if a student is owing less than 150,000, they should be allowed to register.
Yeah, academic and financial exclusion are some of the things that we are going to continue speaking about. But I would like you to pass the mic over to Lufuno. Lufuno, the same question raised to you as well, in terms of ensuring that there's some sort of, transformation as well as measurable initiatives that ought to be introduced by the SRC to promote transformation and academic inclusion at the University of Pretoria. How would you aim to, promote this if you had to be elected into this portfolio?
Wait, can you repeat the question?
How do you aim to, improve, academic inclusion as well as transformation, specifically for students at the University of Pretoria, if you had to be elected into this portfolio?
So first, I would collaborate with the UP Unit for Academic Literacy and Language Policy Committee. So I would execute this by integrating multilingual peer tutoring into the existing STARS program to secure a portion of the SRC budget or university operational funds to give top performing senior students financial stipends for tutoring in languages like isiZulu, Sepedi, and Setswana.
I'd like you to pass the mic over to Khanyisile. Khanyisile, a whole range of solutions having been proposed, but it seems like the big underlying one is, cultural and linguistic diversity that ought to be introduced. Do you think that this is something that's practical, and if so, how?
Greetings, everyone. I personally think it would be impractical. I do not agree with them when it comes to studying different modules in different languages, or having options of studying modules in different languages. We have to also think ahead for the world of work, where the most common language of communication is English. I think the way we can try, or the way I would advocate rather, that can we include learners being taught, I'm just trying to find my words. But what I would rather advocate is that for ways in which we can use one language that could be inclusive for all students or accommodate all students, whether it is high performing students or low learning students, because there are students right here and right now at the University of Pretoria that you find that in lecture halls or in some of the modules we are mostly taught in English, and you find that one learner's capacity of understanding and absorbing knowledge is not the same as the person next to them, and that's where we also touch into inequality. How can we as transformation officers bring about change in such a way that we encourage lecturers to find different ways in which we can do learning and teaching that in a way that it's going to accommodate different students, high-performing students and students that take time to absorb information. And you find that there are students that are suffering with ADHD, that are suffering with autism, and they're very much unaware about such things, only finding out in a later stage. So how can we then also, as transformation, I would like to also explore with see how can, as transformation officer, collaborate with the disability unit so that we can speak to lecturers and see if there's any innovations that we can come up with to improve teaching and learning within the lecturers, yes.
I'm sensing a bit of opposition in terms of your responses. So I'm going to ask you to shift the mic back to Lesedi and then Ayanda.
Thank you for the opportunity. I don't quite agree with you when you say it is impractical, because number one, we have a lot of honors students and master's students who are studying towards Sepedi, Xhosa as their majors, right? Those students, those master's students can be hired to actually lecture in those languages. And number two, when you're speaking about preparing for the world of work, what about the students who are coming from rural areas that do not actually know how to communicate in English, or rather Afrikaans that only know how to write in English? Because in LOLT, rural areas students, they are taught in their languages, but they are taught in their languages. They know how to write in English, but they do not know how to articulate themselves in English. So don't you think it would be better to have them accommodated by these master students who are studying towards the masters and PhD in languages? I think there I don't agree with what you're saying, because this is a practical solution towards this. Thank you.
I'm going to allow you to move the mic to Ayanda. Ayanda, you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you so much. I agree wholeheartedly with what Lesedi has touched on. I think we also need to acknowledge that many students come from many different places. In Limpopo, many schools use Sepedi, Venda, Tsonga as their main language. You go to KZN, it's mainly isiZulu. You go to Eastern Cape, there's differences within that. And what I am exposed to before I come to university is very important. And I go back to saying that South Africa has 12 official languages. If those languages are recognized, then each and every institution needs to recognize these languages. There's no reason why I should not be accommodated as a citizen of this country in an institution in this country. That's something I don't believe. And I also feel like it's very, I don't know if I should use this, inappropriate to actually say that students are less capable just because they cannot speak an English language or Afrikaans. I don't believe that is appropriate.
Kanyisile, we will get to you in a little bit. I want to give some of the other candidates an opportunity to speak. Ayanda, could you please pass the mic to Ginelo? Ginelo, you've heard some of the things that your fellow candidates have said with regards to some of the solutions raised, specifically regarding the practicality of introducing new languages within the university environment. Do you think that this is a viable solution in terms of advancing transformation? And if so, how do you plan to do so, specifically as a transformation representative within the SRC?
For me, transformation is not only about changing policies. It's about letting students experience their student lives. So I agree with Ayanda and Lesedi. It is practical and it is possible. As Ayanda said that she's from Limpopo, I'm from Limpopo. I'm from a public school also, where they teach us in Sepedi. Sepedi is my home language. Even if I get to grade 7 or high school, they still teach us mathematics in Sepedi, but that is not allowed. I had to teach myself English on TV to get to University of Pretoria. So I feel like if we can focus on identifying the barriers students actually experience through student consultation and feedback. We'll then use that information to advocate for practical changes with the relevant university structures, because we know that UP is on top of Africa, right? UP knows that we have 12 official languages. There's something that they can do to help us get many languages in the University of Pretoria.
I'd like you to shift the mic to Tsidiso. Tsidiso, same question is posed to you. You've heard some of the solutions that are raised towards this problem of the lack of transformation, specifically linguistically, when it comes to student life here at the University of Pretoria. With the solutions proposed, whether you agree with them or not, what would you introduce if you were elected specifically within this portfolio?
Thank you for this opportunity. I agree with my fellow candidates, to introduce new languages in the teaching system, because I believe many students are also excluded from the university because they don't understand English nor Afrikaans. So basically, I would advocate for exclusion and access rates being tracked and shared each semester, so students and management can see the real gaps that are like shown through this English and Afrikaans. You get what I mean?
Yeah. I'd like you to shift the mic back to Ginelwe. Ginelwe, we know that a couple of concerns are already facing students as is. We know that there's academic pressure, we know that there's financial stress, we know that there's social challenges that often contribute to the detriment, unfortunately, to many students that enter the University of Pretoria. How would you, if you were elected into this portfolio, advance or advocate rather for accessible and culturally responsive and adequately communicated mental health support?
This is the question that I love because I am a psychology student. And then I understand that student success cannot be separated from student well-being. A student cannot always perform at their best academically if they are struggling emotionally, financially, or even socially. I would not try to replace the provincial psychological services in the UP because we know that student counseling unit, many students are aware of it. What I will try is I would use this SRC platform to improve awareness, accessibility and communication around the support that already exists. I would advocate for preventative initiatives such as stress management and coping workshop, as I've seen that the former transformation in student success only made the student counseling unit as a cure and not as a care. Right? If we can make it as a care and then help students that you can develop personally, right? You can help yourself. Let's say, for example, you have anxiety 2 days before, not even 2 days, 2 hours before your exam. What are you going to do? Are you going to wait for 6 p.m. to go to the student counseling unit? But if the professional psychological services can teach students that you can actually help yourself, so we can do that through as I mentioned, through stress management and coping workshops.
I'd like you to shift the mic to Ayanda. Ayanda, I'm seeing quite a bit of nods in response to what Ginelwe just said. Some of the solutions that she's raised, ensuring that there's enough support specifically for students so that they're able to quote unquote help themselves. Do you think this is viable? But also, what other solutions would you propose if elected into this portfolio?
Yes, I absolutely love what she brought forward. And I'd also just like to add on, I think one thing I'm doing as I'm stepping into this portfolio is speaking from experience. I'm an honor student, so I have experienced undergrad as well as a little bit of postgrad. And one thing I can say is I came to uni with good mental health. That's one thing I can say. I came to uni very healthy in the head with no anxiety, with no stress, nothing whatsoever. And then I came to third year. And then third year is so stressful because there's a lot of things that are coming into your mind. For example, I was NSFAS funded. Now I have to put so much pressure on myself academically so that I can qualify to get funding for postgrad. Because again, I'm in humanities, there's not a lot of funding there. So you have to work as hard as you can to get that funding. And then number two, it's also the idea of if I don't come back, I'm going to be at home, I'm going to be unemployed, and it's going to be a struggle. So mental health is something that I started experiencing when I was in third year because everything just came pouring at once. And one thing I can change is that mental health really needs to be put forward and insisted on when it comes to students as soon as they enter this university space. As soon as we come here for orientation week, mental health needs to be known. Students need to be aware. And I love that you mentioned how students don't necessarily receive care, when they go to the counseling unit. It's very important for students to receive that sense of gentleness, that sense of care from these health professionals. I don't want you to speak to me as a professional in the space. I want you to speak to me as a human being who can empathize with me and sympathize with me. So yeah, I really think mental health should be something that students know about as soon as they step foot into this institution. And even though they might not go through it at that moment, but somewhere along the line, God forbid, they will experience it. Stress is something that we all have to experience, especially when we come towards the end of our degree, and unemployment is something that is at the back of our minds.
I'd like you to shift the mic over to Lesedi. Lesedi, you've heard some of the solutions proposed in terms of ensuring that mental health is actually prioritized here at the University of Pretoria. If you had to be elected into this portfolio, what are some of the practical solutions that you would bring forth in order for mental health support to be provided to students?
I think the first thing that we need to understand is the fact that mental health and academic success cannot be separated. If you are not mentally fit, I don't think we can all attest to that. If you are not okay mentally, there is no way you are going to succeed academically. So the first solution that I have is this matter that, okay, the student health services here at the University of Pretoria only advertises their counseling offers or whatever during marketing week. We don't see them during the course of the year. We only see them then. So I think that we need to, as the SRC, or rather as the SRC Transformation and Student Success Officers, we need to push for a help desk every week, because mental health can never be separated from academic success. So I suggest that maybe we have a mental health desk together with in collaboration with the student health services every week on campus, on every single campus, especially Groenkloof campus, because I did one try and book an appointment online, but then the booking service is down. If a booking service is down, how do we now access appointments? How do we book an appointment? Number two is the technology that is being used for such things. It shouldn't be something that we have to struggle for. Like, it's been, I think, 2 if not 3 months since the online booking has been shut down. You cannot access a booking on your portal anymore. So I think those things are the things that we as the SRC for Transformation and Student Success should push for, because our mental health matters before academic success. If we are mentally unfit, there's no academic success at all. So yeah, I think that's the solution that I'm bringing to the table, that we should have a help desk every week on all campuses, and then also as the SRC, we should collaborate with the student health services so that this thing can be taken seriously. Thank you.
I'd like you to shift the mic to Lufuno. I'm sure you've heard all of the practical solutions that ought to be, brought forward in order to make sure that students feel as though their mental health is, actually prioritized by you as the SRC. If you had to be elected into this portfolio, how will you ensure that students receive adequate mental health support?
Firstly, we can start by decentralizing the student counseling unit. So we can have stalls weekly, like she suggested, and we can also offer training to house communities in residences, as well as training to the SRC members, so we can identify students that are struggling.
I'd like you to shift the mic to Kanyisila. Kanyisila, a couple of solutions raised in terms of, practical involvement of the student counseling unit, them having, trainings for other students to also help other students. Do you think that these are viable solutions? But also, if elected into this portfolio, how do you plan to implement solutions that allow for mental health support for students?
Thank you for the question. Before we move forward, there's something that I just want to touch on, because I did not get the opportunity to answer, which was the language. When it comes to introduction of teaching in different languages, it goes hand in hand with a curriculum. And a curriculum is not something that could be changed within a year or within few months. It's a process that takes years to be changed. So I think when it comes to language, not that I do not agree with them, but what I'm saying is language and curriculum goes hand in hand, and it's not something that could be dealt with within a matter of a year. But what I'm trying to look into is, for now, that currently in my term, what are the things that I can try to stabilize, build onto that foundation, and then going forward, then we can look into such matters. And I did not say that just because a learner does not understand Afrikaans and English, they are less than. I just said that there are students that have disabilities, that they are unaware of their disabilities. For example, I currently doing my 3rd year, and I was only diagnosed with ADHD this year. And initially I had to really fight for me to get assistance, the assistance that I need, and for me to be diagnosed with the diagnosis that I currently have. So having to, and for a student that right now does not have or are unaware of their diagnosis, how can we as transformation officers partnering with faculty houses transformation officers, how can we collaborate with the disability units and the tutors, including lecturers? How can we find initiatives that they could implement during their teaching and learning sessions that could accommodate a fast learning, a student that can understand what is being said the first time, compared to a student that needs to repeat the same content for more than 3 times for them to understand. That's where I was actually going with it. And to touch on with mental health, I do second what my fellow colleagues have said. Mental health is such a sensitive topic, and I truly believe that student success and students' academic success and student success in general goes hand in hand with mental health. You cannot separate those things. Firstly, as my fellow colleagues have mentioned, that as students we still need training. As a transformation officer, for me to be able to assist a fellow student, if I were, for example, were to be approached by a student that needs assistance, how do I go about these matters? And also, we cannot really disregard the student counseling units that is there in place. Like, the university has these services. How can we then improve these services to work more effectively so that we can so that they can render support to the students? So such things such as improving booking systems. Before the booking systems on the portal, there were booking systems using the Google form. I do not know why they stopped that. So I think if we can temporarily just go there, going back to the system of using Google forms until we find a soluble solution that could be implemented for the long run. That's number one. And another thing is that I would also advocate for the institution to get more qualified professionals, because I've realized that, as they've mentioned, that you would find that you are going through a mental breakdown and you try to book that appointment with the student counseling unit, and they will give you an automatic response, and then a week later they will come back to you with a booking date, with a date that is 3 weeks down the line. By then, I think I'll be fine. I think I'll be fine. But I would really advocate for the institution to provide services to students that could help them and assist them right there and there. Because with one thing I've realized with mental health, there are lines or phone numbers that they provide, but in such situations, a student would crave for human interaction. They will crave to sit down in front of a fellow peer or a psychologist or a therapist and talk to them with what's going on, and for them to get solutions from them. So advocate for more therapists and psychologists or professional people to be employed by the university so that correct support is rendered to the students.
I'd like you to pass the mic to Kamokhelo. Kamokhelo, you've heard some of the solutions proposed in terms of improving mental health support for students. What would you do if you were elected within this portfolio in terms of allowing for mental health support to be provided to students?
I would advocate for better communication about the existing UP services, including clear information on where and how students can access help. This year I had a mental breakdown and I went to the student service center, and then it was an emergency. Then they took me to hospital, and the process was really fine. And I had my therapist who was checking up on me continuously and like making sure that I was fine. So I think that the service, it's okay. The UP service is fine, but it needs more improvement. And as she mentioned, I would advocate for more therapists and psychologists to help the students.
I'm getting quite a bit of nods on my right, so I'd like you to pass the mic swiftly over to Genelwe and then to Tidi. So, Genelwe?
Yes, I just wanted to say something about. What's your name? Yes, what she said is that a few days ago I visited the student counseling unit. I wanted to inquire about their admin and services, right? With her saying that you need to book something and wait for 3 weeks, is that they actually do have walk-ins. If it's an emergency, you can come and walk in. They will help you directly. And then we have different kind of therapists. For example, we have a clinical psychologist, the psychologist that I went to inquire about. I just wanted to say that.
And Sidi, so you seem to have quite a few remarks as well when it comes to ensuring that there's mental health support for students.
So I know somebody who booked for like a consultation like before recess, and still the counseling unit has never responded to them. I believe as people, Africans basically, I'm Swati, other people don't know what mental health is actually. So I believe that we have to know, like help people understand what mental health is. And also, as Zulu and Swati people, we believe mental health doesn't exist. You get what I mean? We believe that, you know what, we got this. Even this is a mental health issue, we don't realize it because it's like, it's a norm. You're used to it. So you like grew up to like, okay, this is okay, let me move on. But you realize too late that this is a mental health issue. So basically what I will do is I would push for one clear, well-being communicated point of access, no more guessing games on where to go. Basically, give clear and concise direction. Like if you're facing this, you know what, this is the measures you have to take. Because mostly at the UP clinic, if you do a walk-in, usually they take like emergencies. They're like, did you book? And if you didn't book, they're like, is your case an emergency? And at that time, it's really not. And you're like, you know what, it's not an emergency. It's just like, I'm stressed, I'll be okay, let me sleep over it. And I believe that is very, very wrong. And it needs to be like helped, like have peer support in a certain way, because we do have like honors psychology students. I believe they want like interns or something, like internship. Why don't we take them, since we see that the UP is understaffed, I believe. So why don't we take them and use them as our psychology students to help them and see like make like students better in a sense. You get what I mean?
Yeah, I'd like to pose a second question to you while you still have the mic. We know that some of the other issues that seem to be plaguing students has been this increase of gender-based violence, specifically within the university community. Just this year alone, a couple of cases have been reported of GBV, specifically among students against other students here at the University of Pretoria. How will you ensure that something like this does not happen under your tenure if you're elected as the representative within the SRC in charge of transformation and student success? But moreover, how will you ensure that students will feel comfortable and safe to actually consult with the SRC when it comes to having experienced some of these issues?
So I believe that we as ladies, mostly, we tend to like be scared to speak up on GBV because we believe like our voices won't be heard in a certain way. So I feel like we need more like support structure where one can go, okay, and like report this matter anonymously because people don't want to be heard, because sometimes it favors men more. And if you report this person because they are of fame or something, they don't take your case serious. So just report it anonymously, and if you wanna like pitch through and show who you are, and this process mostly is draining because sometimes they'll find the person not guilty, and now it seems like you have been lying about the situation. So I believe we have to create a support group where you report this matter anonymously, but it has to be taken seriously at the end of the day.
So anonymous reporting as well as, transparency as well. I'd like you to shift the mic to Ginelwe. Ginelwe, some of the solutions that have already been raised from TD. So do you think that these are viable? Do you think that these are practical? And do you think that this is what's going to work specifically for students going forward?
Yes, I totally agree with her. But first, we have to advocate where students know that they are not alone, right? Because we have this stigma that is going around that if you're asking for help, you are weak, especially when it comes to men. So this is where we go back to the mental health and well-being, because I believe that gender-based violence does not just come from somewhere. It's either it comes from childhood, where we get it from rejection, where we get it from trauma. It's building up in your personal development. So if we can let students know that there is help available, and if we can help them know that how they can access it, that will be possibly the first step to what she said.
I'm seeing quite a bit of nods from Ayanda. Ayanda, do you have some sort of response to this?
Yes, I do. Thank you so much. GBV is something that should absolutely not happen in this institution. It shouldn't even be a thought that it should happen on the ground of University of Pretoria or anywhere, in my opinion. And I think it's quite heartbreaking of the number of cases that we have seen this year. And one thing that's really also heartbreaking is that students have to turn to social media in order to get their justice, in order for something to get done. I can assure you that for most victims, the first place they would go to is maybe a police station, and they don't get help there. And then they have to resort to measures of, for example, social media. And I think with the cases that have happened here, at our university this year, I think it's quite heartbreaking. And I think what's more heartbreaking is that the transformation office wasn't at the forefront. It was students. The transformation office needs to be at the front, needs to be the head of these issues. When something like this happens, we need to be up on our feet and to resolve it, And if necessary, we need to involve every law enforcement that is out there, at least. God forbid we don't get justice, but let it be known on paper that this is what the transformation did. Let it be known that transformation went through all sources. That's all I have to say.
I'd like you to shift the mic to Lesedi. I mean, Lesedi, some of the things have been raised, including transformation being at the forefront of addressing some of these societal issues like gender-based violence that unfortunately do plague the student community here at the University of Pretoria. What other practical solutions do you think ought to be brought forward that you would also bring forward if you had to be elected within this portfolio?
Oh, thank you very much. One of the practical solutions that I think that I will bring forward as a transformation officer is, number one, have an open circle, because this open circle would be made out of students that are alumni to the University of Pretoria. That also creates jobs for them, right? And also it can be made up of honest students, or rather peers, undergrads that are willing to volunteer for this opportunity. Now, what is the duty of this round circle? The duty of this round circle is for them to be available 24/7 with the assistance of the security here and safety officers at the University of Pretoria. It's for them to be available 24/7 on a hotline and also on any social media platforms. In any case, if maybe a student is afraid to go to the police station, or maybe they're not getting assistance at the police station, like Ayanda has mentioned, I think that would also be an initiative where the transformation officer is the middleman of this whole thing, is at the forefront of defending women that are being who experience gender-based violence, rather. I think that would be the first initiative that I would like to put into place. Number two, I've also spoken about the mental health awareness, where this round circle will not only be there 24/7, but they will be there every week on every campus, making sure that students are okay. This can be a circle where a student can feel safer to speak to their peers about this whole thing. We can have conversations with them, sessions with them that actually help them deal with that mental health or the trauma that they've been through regarding the gender-based violence, them being a gender-based violence victim. I think, I'm open to to creating more initiatives such as the round circle. Thank you.
I'd like you to pass the mic to Lufuno. I want us to talk about student success and the things that hinder students from succeeding here at the University of Pretoria. I think Ayanda did mention, sometimes there's often this thing of being a final year student and you're worried about what comes next. Graduate unemployment remains a big concern, specifically in our country. How would you, if elected into this portfolio, use this position to strengthen employability through skills development, mentorship, as well as workplace exposure and partnerships that are relevant specifically within the university as well as external stakeholders?
What I would do would be to establish an alumni mentorship network where people come in, speak to the final students, and essentially tell them what they wish they did different. And also, not just for the final year students, but also start from first year.
I'd like you to shift the mic to Kanyisile. Kanyisile, these are some of the issues that are already affecting students currently. Many of them are very aware of the prospects of not having employment straight after university. How do you aim to ease that, tension or ease that fear of a lack of employment after university?
That was a lovely question. I was actually discussing this with my friends a few days ago. Firstly, what I, as a councillor, would advocate for, the same way that we have a UPO module, which it doesn't necessarily count towards your credits, but it's a compulsory module. I think when we can collaborate with the UP Career Service to have a similar module, but targeting final year students, where it does not count towards your credits. However, you are compelled to complete the module. The module could consist of preparing students for interviews, different types of interviews, CVs. Even though I know that Career Service provides such services, however, a lot of students feel like they are, for example, for external campuses, it's does not necessarily accommodate them, especially in times when it comes to the schedule in which these career services or mentorships that are being held. So I feel like a module could assist in covering all students in from different campuses such as Prince Shov, it could be Groenkloof, it could be Ottersport, and so forth. Another thing would be to advocate for career services to not only be career service of a career phase to not only be situated in Hatfield campus, but to also explore other external campuses. Because what I've noted during the past few years here in University of Pretoria, we find that the career service phase are always situated in Hatfield campus, and you find that students from external campus would find out from students that are attending Hatfield that there was a career service fair, and they did not know about that, or rather it just did not align with their timetable. That time you are in class or you are writing a test. So I feel like if we were to sit down with the career service and find a way to include other students from external campuses so that they also feel included. Another thing is mentorship. Advocates for mentorship and for students, and also volunteering, and for students not only to be limited within the field of study. I would say raise more awareness when it comes to volunteering. For example, I, as a nursing student, instead of limiting myself within the health science field in volunteering on probably clinics and so forth, how about I volunteer by teaching kids during the holiday? I think that also would broaden your perspective to say, you know what, my degree doesn't necessarily limit me into this field, I can use my degree and explore other fields or collaborate with other fields. For example, as a nurse, I can collaborate with education or with the community as large. And you will find that in such moments you are able to think of ideas, business ideas that you can come up with that could assist the community, which could eliminate the rate of unemployment. Thank you.
I'd like you to pass the mic over to Kamohelo. Kamohelo, just closing us off in terms of this issue of graduate unemployment also just plaguing students and how that often affects their ability to succeed as students at the University of Pretoria. How would you aim to address this if elected into this portfolio?
Okay, I would advocate for stronger partnership with employers, alumni, and professional organizations to create mentorship, job shadowing, internships, and workplace exposure. I would also promote skills development in areas such as digital literacy, communication, entrepreneurship, and emerging technologies. My goal is to connect students to opportunities before graduation so they leave UP with not only a qualification but also with skills, experience, networks to enter the workplace confidently.
I'm going to allow you to keep the mic. You're each going to have an opportunity to give an elevator pitch as to why students should vote for you in this upcoming election. I'm going to start with you, Kamohelo, in less than 30 seconds. Why should students vote for you specifically within this portfolio?
I believe every student deserves equal opportunities, support, and sense of belonging. I am approachable, committed, and willing to listen to students and turn their concerns into action. I understand that transformation is not only about change, but also about creating an inclusive environment where students can succeed regardless of their background. If elected, I would advocate for stronger student support, meaningful transformation, and opportunities that improve academic and personal success. I am ready to work with students and the university structure to create practical, lasting change. Together, we can build a more inclusive UP where every student has the opportunity to succeed.
I'm going to allow you to pass the mic to Kanyisile. Kanyisile, in less than 30 seconds, why should students vote for you?
Hi everyone, I'm Kanyisile Kumete. I believe that I'm deserving for your vote because I believe that I'm the leader capable to advocate on your behalf and to be transparent and also ensure that your voice is heard. At the end of the day, this is not about me, but it's about students. So allow me to be your voice in rooms that you do not have access to, and allow me to relay your complaints and try my absolute best to provide solutions that could assist you as students as large, which irrespective of race and gender.
Lufuno, why are you the ideal candidate that students rather should vote for within this upcoming SRC election?
I believe that I am your ideal candidate because I believe that leadership is not reserved for the loudest voice. It belongs to those that want to serve, that want to listen to you. And I understand what it feels like to be a student first. And therefore, you should vote for me because I am willing to listen to you. I am willing to be your voice. Leadership does not end at the ballot box.
Lesedi, why should students vote for you in this upcoming SRC election?
My name is Lesedi Kamohelo Mungau, also known as Luna, or rather famously known as Luna. I believe that you should vote for me as I am the voice of the voiceless. I believe there is nothing for the students without the student voice. So I want to be that voice for you. I want to break those challenges for you and create a greater path for the next generation of students that will be studying at the University of Pretoria. So let me be your first friend in the SRC. Thank you.
Ayanda, why should students vote for you specifically within this portfolio of transformation and student success?
So my name is Ayanda Malungana. I have walked the journey from undergraduate and postgraduate life and experienced firsthand the challenges, the frustrations and uncertainties that many students face. I understand what it means to search for opportunities, navigate university systems, and question whether our voices are truly being heard. That's why I am standing for SRC, not because I have all the answers, but because I understand the questions. I want to lead with integrity, listen with purpose, and turn our shared experiences into meaningful change. Because transformation begins when students are not only heard, but genuinely seen, supported, and empowered to succeed. Vote for Ayanda.
Ginelo, why should students vote for you to be the SRC representative for transformation and student success?
My name is Kinila Mawela. As a psychology student, a tax track and field and cross-country athlete, also a mentor in the STARS mentorship program, I understand I have experienced every different side of being a student, that we are not just students, we are people dealing with academic, personal, social, and financial realities. I want to bring that understanding into the SRC. Students should vote for me because I am not running simply to hold a position. Because as a person of faith, I believe that leadership is about serving. It's about serving with integrity, passion, and compassionate. And then I don't promise perfection, I promise to listen, advocate, and work.
And finally, Tidi, so why should students vote for you in this upcoming SRC election?
I believe this campus doesn't need another candidate who talks about change. It needs someone who will show up and deliver it. I have a real plan, and I'll be accountable to you every step of the way. My slogan is believe, achieve, and strive, and I believe I will make everybody belong and thrive and achieve to what they want. So vote for TD for SRC Transformation and Student Success. I thank you.
Tsidiso Kineile, Ayanda Lisedi Lufuno, as well as Kanyisila and Gamachelo, thank you so much for taking time to join us for this SRC debate. A reminder that these are your candidates for the position of transformation and student success for this upcoming SRC election that is set to take place beginning on the 19th of August of this year. A reminder that you can catch them throughout the week as they are set to present their manifestos from the 11th until the 14th of August this week here at the University of Pretoria at the Law Building.